Hello, my name is Joseph Carlson, and this is episode 220 of Gaming with Grief, and I'm calling this episode Chatting with Todd. But I want to remind everybody that this podcast will hit my website, www.gamingwithgrief.com, Monday morning at 7 a.m., so please go there, listen to the episode, give me the likes, the subscribes, all that kind of stuff. You can also, write to me at gwgpodfellows@gmail.com, or watch the YouTube video of the podcast, the YouTube version, at 7 a.m. on Monday morning as well. Subscribe, like I said before, give me all the likes, all that kind of stuff. This is just a thing where I'm just chatting with a friend of mine. He's been going through some stuff lately, and him and I both use games to kind of deal with it. We talk about it a little bit, but he mentions it a little bit. But obviously, you don't want to dwell on everything that's so negative all the time, and we just talk about the stuff we've been playing lately and stuff like that. So this is just kind of a catch-up chatting episode, but it's important, I think, to catch up with your friends and stuff and make sure they're all right. And that's what this episode is. But yeah, I guess we'll just get to the episode. Go. So, Todd, have you haven't,
Yes.
you haven't ever been on the pod, I don't think. I think this is the
No,
first.
I haven't. No, I know we scheduled something a while ago, but I have my kid every other weekend, so it gets difficult.
Yeah, it only took episode 220 for you to be in the pod, even though we've gamed together and stuff. Yeah, it was good.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit last night, but I was thinking about it last night. There was some other stuff I wanted to ask you that we didn't get into. Are you still playing Diablo 4? Because I heard there was some problems people had with the patch. The fans had.
Yeah,
With it.
I built out my character as a sorcerer with very high crit and ice, and I heard they nerfed both of those pretty badly. So, and that's about when I started playing Battle Bits. So, haven't really gone back for a few weeks.
Oh,
I just don't want to see the mess.
yeah, I heard. It sounds like from what I haven't played Diablo and stuff, but it sounds like everybody in the community basically just said that everything is slower, which doesn't sound like a fun way to play a game when the developers slow everything down. When you're enjoying a class, enjoying your rotation, enjoying what you're doing, enjoying the game, it's like, well, why don't we give you less XP, make your cooldown slower? That's basically what I've heard from the community.
Well, and that's the thing. It's a very heavily gear-based game. It's very fast-paced, and you just keep ramping up as quickly as you can, do all these nightmare dungeons and all this stuff. It's supposed to be fast-paced by design, and now it just seems like they just want you to die more.
Right,
So
and use
I don't know.
items, and well, I do. This is going to sound strange, but I do understand from their perspective when it takes years to design this game, and then the community blows through that content in a few months, where they're like, "Is there more?"
Sure.
And so it's like, how can we slow the train down because we're literally putting tracks to go somewhere else or do something else, and then people are just like, "I need more." It's just like you and I play World of Warcraft. You get a new expansion and you burn through that in 2 weeks, and you're like, "This is it. This is all there is," and it's like, come on, guys. Like it
Yeah,
took
but
us.
with Diablo 4, there really isn't any end game. It just keeps continuing and getting more and more difficult. I think that's what everybody really loved. Is now you're level 100, you're doing level 100, you know, dungeons that are nightmare mode, and there really is no stop to the progression in that game that I've seen yet. So, I think it's probably unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things nowadays where you could just go do something else, right? It's like if you're
Right.
slowing down here, go somewhere else and do whatever. I mean, I am interested in Diablo, but my wife and I were actually trying to save money, and so we just got Path of Exile, which is free, and they just had a big convention, and they're showing off Path of Exile 2, which originally was going to be like an add-on to Path of Exile, but they announced in their presentation that it's a full-fledged sequel now. So if you want a
Oh,
free version of Diablo, you can download the sequel. I don't actually know when it's coming out. I think they might have had a specific date, but I actually didn't write it down. I want to say, I'm not even gonna guess, but yeah.
I think one of my coworkers was telling me that something kind of similar as a dungeon crawler is Hades 2,
Oh, I
whatever it
I played
is.
the original, but I didn't play the. I haven't. The second one's not coming out yet, so
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So I've been
Um,
kind of looking into that.
yeah. I mean, I'm excited to play. I mean, the first one's pretty amazing. The way they won a bunch of awards. I mean, the way they use procedural generation through um, their storytelling. Apparently, people played that game for tens of hours, and The NPCs never said the same thing, and it was fully voice acted. And apparently, if you try to cheese enemies, they will know it and call it out when you do boss battles. When
Oh,
you
gotcha.
try to use different weapons, they'll be like, "Oh, you're trying to cheat now," basically, like
Hmm.
stuff like that, which I think is pretty amazing for a procedurally generated game to be able to call out
Hmm.
your shenanigans on a.
That's right.
It's like screw you, people. The other thing I wrote down that I want to talk about, you mentioned that you're going to be in a D&D game. You now have a DM.
Yes.
You're doing a session 0 soon. You said. Do you even know?
Yes.
Does a DM have to present to you like what type of campaign and all that kind of stuff, or you don't know at all because you haven't done
It's
it?
kind of it. He's, I asked him some of those questions about, his DM style and kind of what we're going to be looking into, and I forgot what he quoted. I said, are you going to make us, do the encumbrance and all that stuff? And he goes, "Hey, man, if it's cool, that's the rule. That's my whole thing. So if
Oh,
you come up with something awesome, or you don't want to play a certain way, and we all agree on it, yeah, he's pretty flexible apparently. But yeah, don't really know much of him except for he's an engineer and a geek like most of them there.
oh
So
no.
with a lot of experience. So hopefully
Well,
we can come up with something cool.
I rue the day your group runs into a puzzle. It's going to be like the most elaborate,
Oh man.
like Hellraiser box of. Uh, it'll be like that scene in the D&D movie. Like we have to do these. Like
Yes.
we have to do these. You have to walk
Yeah.
on over their platform and teleport down here
Throw a
and do.
bird person out the window.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
on a Tuesday,
Yeah.
counterclockwise. And you're like, no. How many
Yeah.
how many people are playing in your group? Is it?
We have 3 dedicated right now, but I mean, we haven't really reached out to the rest of the team on our Slack channel. We're thinking about just putting out a blast message, just like, "Hey, anybody who wants to play D&D." I mean, literally, my company is all engineers of some kind, either radio engineers or electrical engineers, mechanical engineers. They're all kind of the nerdy type,
Mm.
So I'm thinking we could probably get more. I still don't know how we're going to do it. If we're going to do it like virtually. I think the session 0 is going to be in person
Oh.
on lunch, and then just try to get everybody's story set up.
I
But it
mean,
is difficult with people that are just doing it with pen and paper and looking
oh
through
yeah,
the
you said that last night that
player's
they were
handbook.
they were like they were. Are they opposed to D&D Beyond, or they just never have used it?
No, I mean, one of them's a little resistant to it, but I'm like, dude, you can just set up your character sheet and play around with it, and then just print it out. It's pretty easy. The other guy uses that exclusively. The guy that's kind of playing his first campaign right now.
Oh,
Um, he's already in a campaign though, so we don't know how much time he can dedicate to it. Um,
yeah. I mean, if you
yeah.
guys do it remotely, and I mean, depending on my schedule, I'd like to drop in once or twice. It'd be nice to play. I told
Oh
everybody.
yeah.
I told everybody in my group that I want to play, and everybody goes, "Uh huh." And I was like, "What does that mean? Does that mean that I get to, or what?" There's been a lot of
Yeah,
characters.
no, we're always looking for more people. So if you're down to try it
Yeah,
out,
I mean,
that'd be kind of cool. You won't have to DM anymore for a little bit.
yeah. After you do your session 0 and like figure out like a time frame, let me know, and I'll
Yeah,
see if I could
that'd be
like
cool.
maybe I could be a guest character of like, hey, we like basically we know a guy of like how are we gonna do this? Well, we know a guy that we could talk to, and like I could be the guy.
Yeah.
So you don't even know like if it's gonna be like a heist or like a like a large scale battle or like a kidnapping. You don't know what kind of campaign at all or like world.
Not
or thing.
really. He kind of left it up for us to decide. Me and one of the other characters, we both like to kind of do sneaky stuff, and so he thinks we're probably gonna. He wants to do a little bit more of a RP heavy thing instead of battle heavy
Oh,
because
right.
those can get kind of drawn out. So we're
Yeah.
good. We don't have any map set up or any plots to think about yet, but yeah, that's something we're going to come up with. Unfortunately, a week after the guy started, or 2 weeks after the guy started, we talked about this. He went on PTO, so he's not going to be back until Monday.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, yeah. Let me know that. I mean, that'll be fun. I mean, yeah. I mean, just to find out more. I mean, actually sitting down with a group of people. I mean, like you said, you don't know if it's going to be over Zoom or because you guys are all up north. So I don't know. Again,
yeah.
scheduling is the worst thing, but I know Zoom kind of alleviates a little bit of that. When you're like,
Well, yeah, and one of the guys lives in Everett. I live down here in Tacoma, and then a couple guys live in Tequila, right by where we work. So we're all kind of from all over the place.
so you
Um,
probably would do it remote then, because you'd be like,
Yeah, but we also have, hour-long lunch meetings. We just had Thursday a 2-hour barbecue. I mean, stuff like that we can at least sit and discuss, and
yeah. We'll
maybe
do
do a
like
little bit of
planning
RP.
stuff or like, a little bit of RP.
Right.
Like we did that when you and I played that Theros campaign where it was like we take breaks and go somewhere
Yeah.
like, hey, this is going to be really short. Why don't we go get some beers and just sit and talk? And then I remember that one time we sat with Jesse. It was like, oh, we should probably actually game because we were just shooting the shit, drinking a beer. Like, yeah, I did have something planned. Like, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be good though. Yeah, let me know how that turns out. Because if it does work out, I would like. If it's remote, that's very easy for me to sit here and do.
Yeah, no.
And then,
And these guys are all really cool guys. I think you get along with them pretty well.
yeah.
So
I mean, again, it would be nice to be able to play. And then, so with MTG, like, are you still doing arena or are you? Well, you haven't really done.
I
Well,
haven't really been gaming that much lately, honestly, and I think it's just because I've been living by myself. I used to play a lot with my wife, which that's not a thing anymore, and I don't really have anybody to play games with. I
Right.
gave Jesse a new computer, my old one, and I told him, well, now you got my computer, you got to play some games with me, and he said sure, and then I still
You never
haven't played a
did.
game with him yet. Yeah, so I bought him BattleBit just so he could play with me,
Well,
and he
now
doesn't really
now
play
I
that
see
either.
him logged into Baldur's Gate 3 all the time now. All my friends is
Yeah,
like,
me too.
and
He's
then
on right now, actually.
oh yeah, I called Avin this morning and he knew my call because he was also exploring in the whatever. But I kind of blew his mind because I was talking about hotkeys and stuff, Avin's like, oh yeah, like I meticulously loot everything, and I think it was or the day before yesterday I was talking to him and I said, well, if you hold the left alt button, it'll display everything that you can loot on the screen you're on. And he goes, what? And I was like, yeah. I was like, use the left alt. It'll display if it's an empty container or a person you've already looted. It'll say empty or, whatever. You can loot it. And he's like, oh, that just blew my mind. And I was like, yeah, go do that. And then we got not in a fight, but we were giving each other a hard time because I said, yo, I loot everything too. And he says, really? And I go, yeah, I take the plates and the cups and stuff. And he goes, I don't take that. And I'm like, so you don't loot everything is what you're saying. It's like you leave things on the literal table. And he was like, okay. He's like, well, because when you go to barter it with people, they won't give you money for plates and cups and they get mad at you. And I was like, I just want money for the plates and cups. So I don't care either way if they'll take it or not. So,
Yeah, low budget thief right there.
yeah, well, I got some plates, some cups. It's a stereotypical thing you see in old movies where they open the drawers and take all the silverware and everything. That's my guy in Baldur's Gate 3. I'm taking all the plates and the mugs and the silver steins and stuff and dumping them in my bag and going somewhere else. So yeah,
No encumbrance. Nice.
yeah, I'm a low level thief, but I'm also a cleric, so maybe it doesn't count if I steal stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
I was just looking up this morning MTGA. I wanted to start playing more Lord of the Rings stuff, like in person, the Lord of the Rings set cards, but also MTGA. They've included that now in their sets, and I could try out builds. I think in that, so that way I knew because my wife gave me permission to buy the cards, so I'm slowly buying the cards, because some of them are pretty cost prohibitive. So I'm buying a little bit here and there. But I got a pull list this morning of all the cards so I know what I'm buying and if I have it, like a checklist. And then, but I know MTGA, you can try out builds, and I want to do that. So,
Yeah, like I said, I just don't have any dedicated people to play with anymore, and I want to get Baldur's Gate, but I've spent so much money on games that I've never played in the last
yeah.
couple months. Like rebought Destiny for the Xbox and all the expansions. I've got Titanfall 2 that I want to try out. I've just got Bitburner. Let's read them off. Dwarf Fortress, which I put 620 hours
I
in.
think I heard
Apparently.
about, Dwarf Fortress. Yeah, I've heard about Dwarf Fortress. I'm very scared because every time I look at Dwarf
Yeah.
Fortress, I'm like, oh man, like I'm a different type of nerd. Like this doesn't, like oh man, it's one of those things. Again, speaking of Ivan, our friend, he is very good at strategy games and stuff like that. You play Magic with him. I know him through playing that now and strategy games. We would always play Age of Empires, and he would whoop my butt. And we played Age of Empires 4. He whooped my butt every time. He's very good. But me having a little bit of knowledge of D&D and playing Baldur's Gate with him feels so gratifying because he's like, "Wait, you could do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, duh." Like you don't know that? Like, yeah. He said something about I said I was making Thor, and he goes, "Well, how do you make Thor?" And I go, "Well, there's a cleric class called the Tempest Cleric, and you control the weather and can call lightning and do thunder damage to people. You are Thor, and you wear heavy armor. And I was like, duh. And he's like, well, no need. And I called him a noob. And he's like, there's no reason to call me names. And I was like, okay, fine. I said, I'm not even sorry. So it felt very good. I just had a moment where I was like, is this what
Well, that's
this feels
good.
like?
Well, you got your lane.
Yeah, I was like, is this what this feels like when you know something and someone else doesn't know? Oh, this feels really good. This feels really, really good. So
Dwarf Fortress isn't like that though. I mean, it's it's the whole theme of it is dying is fun or something like that. Losing is fun because there's so many ways to lose and everybody does. It's just how long can you survive? And sometimes it comes in hilarious ways. Some necromancer turns all these dead animals you slaughtered alive and they start attacking your fort. I mean, it's always funny.
there's like a random element to the game.
There's so many. Yeah. So if somebody reads a book that has secrets of death and undeath, or they read a tablet, they could become necromancer, and they just start. I mean, I saw a guy. There's a necromancer in a bar. They got in a fight. The necromancer killed the guy 150 times and kept resurrecting him.
Oh,
It's like
no.
that's some hate right there. So there's some fun elements like that.
Actually, in our D&D game we're doing, there is a necromancer, and it was part of Jesse's backstory that it was like a friend of his, and the guy became a necromancer, and they were fighting him, and he was like resurrecting people, and Jesse plays necromancers. He's like, I know what he's doing. And I was like, you do, but you got to do something about it. He's like, man, like this is not good, because his character is a blood hunter, so they hunt like the undead and stuff. So he also knows what he's doing in game, and his character and Jesse knows what's happening in game. And he's like, damn, he'll see him resurrect somebody. He's like, oh no. And I was like, yeah, that's not player knowledge. You would also know that this is not good. What he's doing. And he's like, oh no, So yeah, it's great to be able to twist the knife a little bit and be like, yeah, you think it's so great when you can raise the undead. Other people can too, Jesse. It's not just you. So now you have to deal with it. So yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. I mean, I'll probably. I've been trying to get a better gaming schedule because even my wife and I, Carla and I, we play games together, and we try to get like one day a week where we'll play a game together. So maybe you and I'll have a MTG arena date or something.
Yeah, I used to love playing that.
Where you could beat my butt. Maybe it'll have to be every 2 weeks or whatever, but I'll send you a text and be like, hey, I have time on this Sunday.
Yeah.
I know we're going out of town, not this week, but the following week we're going to Hawaii.
Oh, that's gonna be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Our friend's getting married, and I told my boss, and she said she cleared the time, but I have to check with her next week. And I said, well, if you didn't clear it, you're just going to write me up because I spent so much money on these tickets that
Yeah. There's no backing out now.
Yeah, I did inform you like a month in advance, and it's happening. So deal with it. Basically.
Well, that's cool. And you guys are staying in Maui at the perfect beach too. So I'm really excited for you guys.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be my wife and I even talked about whether or not to bring gaming stuff. I don't know if I will. I think we're going to do a lot of hiking and stuff. It'll be good to maybe not look at a screen.
No, I said I could think of. I told Jamie I could think of you just, like noon, sitting on a beach with a 6-pack of beer with your big hat on, just hanging out next to a tree or something.
It's crazy. Yeah. I haven't really. Jesse and I were talking about this last night. Like we haven't drank a lot lately. Like I got non-alcoholic ginger beer, and I was like, and I just texted him last night. I was like, "You're coming over. Do you want me to buy beer?" And he goes, "No, I haven't really drank beer in a while, but I have a half." He goes, "I have some Rogue beer here, but I'm not drinking it. Do you want it?" And I was like, "Well, I don't drink either, but do you want ginger beer?" And he's like, sounds great. Like, sure. So we're just learning a board game today, which is D&D adjacent.
Yeah, that's cool. Jesse doesn't usually get out that often, so I'm glad he's been to your house and everything now.
Well, I think what it was he got the time. He has to schedule ahead with his wife, and everybody else canceled. But I text Jesse specifically. He's like, if you still have the date, come over. And he's like, yeah. So that'll be good. So another thing with you. So tell me about BattleBit. I've heard a little bit about it. I've heard there's massive battles. What did we talk about last night? 256 people total in arenas?
254 in arenas, yeah.
So 120 something on either side?
127 on each team. Yeah, that's the largest groups you can get. You can go down to like 64 total.
And it's like voxels, right? It's like a Battlefield voxels. Because I've seen some footage. Yeah. I watched the Steam page and watched their trailers. It was like,
yeah, it's just Battlefield 2042. Well, actually, more like Battlefield 2, just with really crappy graphics, but the gameplay is all there. Bullet drop, I mean, helicopters, vehicles. Um, I'm right now working on an engineer with the anti-tank missiles and anti-tank mines and all this stuff. We like to booby trap places for people so they
Nice.
blow up. It's exactly like Battlefield 2. And Jesse and I used to, when I lived with Jesse years ago, we would play that all day. I
Yeah.
mean, we didn't really have jobs. We would just sit there next to each other and just play that all day. So I'm trying to kind of relive that experience with it. But yeah, and the gaming is just really smooth. Everybody's saying this is what Battlefield 42 should have been.
Yeah, I think
And
I heard it was only like maybe 3 people. I heard it was a very small number of people like developing the
yeah,
game.
three developers over 7 years, I think, to
Yeah,
develop it.
and then I read somewhere that people were like, "Well, what about this and what about that?" And they said there's 3 of us. Basically,
Yeah.
like it's in
Well,
early access. We're working on it. We are aware of certain things, but we haven't.
yeah, they've outsold like all the AAA titles by this point. So I think they're probably going to get a little bit more funding and be able to hire a little more. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't think it's going to be, yeah. But it's just, if you don't mind the crap graphics,
yeah. I'm
it's
not a
just
big.
one of
I
the
mean,
funnest games to
graphics are
play.
great, and I love looking at this. And like, oh, that looks amazing. But yeah, if especially if the gameplay is smooth, and especially if you have like very little connectivity problems, like that's what I
Yeah.
look for in a game. And as long as everything, and then even people said you could probably talk to this more. Even in BattleBit with like a voxel graphical style, like the guns feel different, And I was like, that's crazy because
Yeah.
usually you'd think it would just be like garbage, like they would all feel,
No.
yeah,
And I saw a comparison of, the Battlefield 2042 or whatever the new game is, the guns sound next to the guns in BattleBit, and BattleBit sounds are just as good, if not better, than the actual sounds and
I wonder if that's
recoil and all that stuff.
yeah. The 3 people team said this is a priority. Graphics are not. We don't care if the buildings
Yeah.
are square, but we need to get the sound and the feel of the gun right because this is a shooter, and I don't care if the
Yeah.
building looks like a cube with a window. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and almost everything's destructible. I mean, you see these giant wind turbines, and people can throw C4 on it and blow it up, and it falls over and kills people. It's just, yeah, almost everything's destructible.
is
So
there
yeah,
is there like
it's fun.
is there like near field communication? So like if you're near the enemy,
Yes,
you can hear what they're planning or whatever, or your
yeah,
team.
proxy communication. I do have it on push to talk, so I have to push. But as soon as also have death chat on, so as soon as I die, everybody can hear me.
Uh,
So they hear all the cuss words and stuff as soon as I get killed.
oh, so there's that
Um,
many toggles where you can affect like
yeah,
death.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool. Yeah, man, it's one of those things where you were talking to me last night, and I'm like, this all sounds great, but like I don't have room in my life for a
Yeah.
game. So
Well, I'm
unfortunately,
not a first person guy, but this is just it's kind of a fun, dumb thing to do, and the level ups, the getting bonuses, and all that stuff helps. But yeah, it's just a all around cheap game that entertains
yeah,
me, and I
isn't it
don't have
like
a lot of
it's
those right
what
now.
$20 I think or something? It's not
Yeah,
much.
yeah, it's $20.
Yeah, I need to.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on, I'm on the. Oh, here's the Steam page. I just happen to have it open.
Hmm.
Oh, not my keyboard though. Never mind. I have limited space on my desk, but yeah. Well, ooh, top games, new and trending. Oh, top sellers. Maybe BattleBit's on there. Hang on.
Oh, I'm
Oh
sure
yeah,
it
it is.
is.
BattleBit remastered. It's 14.99. So
Oh, that's even better than it was when I bought it.
yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm actually I'm going to see if I can rope if Jesse's coming over for a board game. He also wants to be on the pod, and when I talked to him like about it a month ago, he's like, "Well, I don't know about time, and kids got stuff they're doing out of town, and I'm a dad, and but if he's here, he's here." So it's like
Yeah,
we could do
right,
it now. Like you don't
right.
yeah, you don't have to schedule any more time. You were literally here. So
Yeah, I would have liked to be down there too. I just, it's one of those weekends.
well, no,
It's my birthday,
that was one thing I was going
so.
to talk about too. Is like I've noticed with me, gaming is like a big source of like relieving stress, and I
Hmm.
kind of got bummed out when there was a death in Joseph's family, so obviously he couldn't make it. So I'm not going to be like, oh, you
Right.
wussy, but I was kind of bummed out. And then he texted late last
Yeah.
night and said, "Wait, are we still playing?" And I was like, "I thought." Anyway, But yeah, it's a thing where like I do, especially if I make time to plan and do all that kind of stuff. It is very like a stress reliever, and the sense of satisfaction I got at the end of last session when everybody was sitting around the table, and they go, "Whoa," and then they're like, "Is that?" It was a cliffhanger, and they said, "Is that it?" And I said, "You want more?" And Jesse's like, "I thought there'd be more," and I'm like, "Always leave them wanting more." And then everybody left, and I just sat down. I was like, "That was great." Like it ended
Yeah.
well. They basically released a dragon from a prison, which is not good. There was a Shadowfell dragon, which is very powerful, and they messed with it and released it. They thought they were doing a good thing, but now they've done a bad thing. And
It happens all the time in D&D.
yeah, you're like, I did
In
a
there.
yeah. And the end of the campaign was really great because they literally got blown up in the sky and were falling, and they said, "Do we have anything to slow our descent?" And I'm like, "I don't know. You guys looked in your character sheets." And they go, "What if I used my cloak?" And I was like, "As a parasail?" And both of them said yes. And I
Like
said
in the cartoons.
yes. And I said, "Well, here's the deal. Normally I would say no because that's weird, but I've been playing a lot of Tears of the Kingdom when you have a parasail, and if you want to pull it out at the last minute, make a dex roll, see if you could do it, and if you do, I'll take some dice off of what I'm going to roll for your fall damage." And they both did it. So they didn't break
Okay.
as many limbs because they literally
Well, now you got to tell me about Tears of the Kingdom because
oh
I no longer have Nintendo products that went away.
oh well, I mean, I don't want to be one of those people that's like, a game of the year and all this stuff, but it is a very, Nintendo does this thing where everybody says, well, what is after, you played Breath of the Wild. Everybody said,
Yeah.
how are they going to follow this amazing game up? And the thing about it is it took them 6 years to develop this. So I really think they sat down and said, what else can we do? And there's, without giving too much away, they reused the Hyrule map, but there's two new areas to explore. One of them is as big as Hyrule. Again, I don't want to give anything away. And then, well, they did in the promotional material. You can see the Sky Islands. So there's the Sky Islands, there's Hyrule, and there's a new area that's as big as Hyrule to explore with new treasures and hidden things and stuff like that. So that's amazing in itself. And they kept the third area secret in the marketing material. So everybody's like, wait, there's this whole new area? So that's amazing. And then they give you tools. You can now fuse any item together to create almost like Minecraft to build contraptions and ways to get around things. And you also have the these things called you have abilities just like Breath of the Wild. So you have Ultra Hand, which is the ability to move things around and manipulate them. They have a rotation feature. You can fuse things together, so you can build anything really. And you have Ultra Hand is one ability. Then you have I forget the technical term for it. I haven't played in a while, but it is basically you reverse time. So if a clock tower with spokes on it is going clockwise and you see a platform that's going counterclockwise, you can jump on it, reverse time, and then get over to that. Also, if you're trying to get to a platform you can't get to, you can use Ultra Hand to manipulate an item from the top of a platform down to the floor and then jump on it, reverse time, and then it acts like an elevator. So you basically can manipulate time in your advantage. The world or place you're in remembers what you did, and there's usually 2 or 3 different options depending on how you manipulated it. And there's arrows telling you, do you want it to go left or right? Because you did it both ways. What do you want to do? That's just, those are 2 abilities. And there's Ascend, which is if you're in a deep, dark place, you can ascend. There's a blue dot that appears above your head, and if that's true, you literally swim through solid ground and pop out where you are.
Oh, wow.
So you're never, if you fall down a well, which I did before, because now you can explore underground in the wells. I was like, how am I going to get back up to the surface? Oh yeah, ascend. And I did that one time and I popped out on top of a mountain. So you swim forever, X amount of time, and then you'll pop out wherever. And I popped out near an enemy, and you have the ability to reverse your ascend. So descend, basically. So you pop out where you were
So it
before.
sounds like they took what was so successful in the first game was, the amount of exploration you could do. It sounds like they just expanded on that.
Right. Yeah,
so you can explore everywhere. That's really cool.
and they also, I'm trying to think of all the abilities. There's one more ability that I can't, that like escapes me. Oh, you also have the Zonai devices. So you find this ancient civilization, and they leave these powered devices. So there's a fan. You can strap that to a bunch of logs and make a raft that pushes itself. You can
Yeah, I saw that.
you get gliders, so you can you'll just naturally glide through the air, but there's no friction, so they'll just stay on solid ground. But you can use Ultra Hand and fuse it to a cart, so they have wheels. So then you can put a fan on it and then put a control stick on it, so you're literally a pilot. They do fade away, so they'll flash before they fade. So I've been very high up in the air, and you're like, oh, here it goes, here it goes. Oh crap! And I've seen people do tons of things where they build mechs. You have a battery in the game that you can upgrade, so your Zonai devices have charges and your battery will run out. So your tires will run out. You have like off-road tires. You can fuse that to a cart. There's hot air balloon things, and you can keep these capsules on you like gotcha machines you find through the world. You put ingredients in them to get gotcha capsules like a real machine. You open the capsules and you'll get like a fan of this, and you can keep that all in your inventory. So you can just be out in the world going, I need a fan. Oh, I have 10 of them. Here, I'll put one out. Now what do I want to build? You can't do them in the shrines, but in the shrines they have things there that it's like, okay, we've given you the tools in the shrine. Just do whatever you want to do to solve this shrine. I've seen some crazy things. One of them was I went in a shrine and they basically want you to build a roller coaster. They give you there's a rail system that goes up, and they give you fans and these concrete slabs to build a rail system to go up through these rails, so you can get up to the top of this roller coaster region. But what's interesting is everybody wants to break it. So I saw somebody, instead of using making a roller coaster or a roller coaster cart, they fused all the pieces of concrete slab together, so it was very tall. Then they ascended up through the top of it, so they're at the tippy top of this thing, and then they just jumped and floated across to get to the end of the chasm with the door in it with their parasail and solve the puzzle. So it's like,
See, that's what's so cool, because not everything's straightforward.
yeah,
Man.
it's like I thought I was being creative to do the thing because I built the roller coaster in a weird way and was like, oh, it's working. I don't know if this is the way, but like it's working. And then I just watched these videos. It was crazy because right after I beat it, they got fed to my YouTube feed of like, hey, you want to see people beat this crazy shrine? And I was like, I was in that shrine. And so people are doing just crazy things. Another thing is they brought back bomb flowers, which apparently was something in the older games. And so you can literally put a bomb on your shield, and then when you hop forward, you'll bomb forward and like leap yourself forward onto whatever. Also, you can put it on your shield and then hold it to defend yourself, and enemies will hit it and they'll kill themselves. I did that to several enemies because they'll try to strike your shield and then it'll explode. I knocked a guy off a cliff that way. It was very gratifying. He came after me and he was no more. I was like, well, see you later, man. It's all that kind of stuff that like it makes you say like, yeah, all the doubting that people had of how are they going to one up themselves for Breath of the Wild. I think one review from IGN put it really well. They said, leave it to a company like Nintendo to make you feel that a game like Breath of the Wild was a first draft, but here we are. This game surpasses it in every.
No, they always put in the extra time to make it perfect, but now I'm on Amazon looking at Nintendo Switches. Man.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy, and again, a lot of people have their game of the years. I haven't finished it yet, but it's one of those things that every time I play, there's. It's just, again, another review I heard put it well. He goes, it's definitely a Bring Me the Horizon game. Like, there was a Master and Commander where they'd be like, bring me the horizon. He's on their ship. And this game feels like it, of no matter which direction you look in or what you want to do, there's always something going on. Because people did complain about Breath of the Wild that Hyrule felt a little empty. But this one with items, and they put building materials in different places because they have an in-world event that, hey, after the thing that happened with Hyrule last time, there's the Hudson Construction Company, and they just put building materials all over it because they want Hyrule to be built up again and be repaired. So when you go throughout the world, you'll just see logs and not the Zonai stuff, but you'll see like wood planks. So you're like, oh, there's a river. I can build a raft and go across, or build a sailboat. You'll find sails laying there, horse cart wheels. You can get a harness at the stables and make a horse cart, stuff like that. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Huh. That's on my list for sure.
Well, Todd, thanks for, taking the time to talk with me. I will touch bases with you soon because I have a birthday gift to give to you. So happy birthday as well. Publicly on the podcast, happy birthday.
Thank you.
But I have a gift to give you, and you're busy, but I will do some stuff, I'll make it over there. So, I hope you have a good day, sir. Thanks for being on the pod. Hopefully it'll be sooner than 220 episodes before you're back on. So
I'd love to be back. Yeah.
So we don't have to wait the hundreds of episodes. So talk to you soon, man. If you like what you're seeing and hearing, please consider subscribing to the podcast. You can go to either Apple iTunes, the Google Play Store, Spotify, or Amazon Music in the podcast section. It'll hit Monday morning or Sunday afternoon, depending on when it posts. And the video will hit on YouTube and Spotify Monday. Spotify will hit Monday evening, and YouTube it'll hit Monday morning, 7 a.m., just like it does for the audio services. So please go to those places and consider subscribing or listening to the show. You can also write to me at gwgpodfellows@gmail.com if you want to write me a letter. Let me know what you think of the show, things like that. Or you can also find me on Twitter at JustLittleJoe. So go to those places and please consider liking and subscribing. Thanks.